So, we've heard so much chatter around AI, and I can only imagine that we're going to continue to see this hype going on for decades to come until AI becomes such a normalized part of society, just like the computer has become a part of our society. But until then, tons of hype, tons of discussion, and I think there's going to be tons of figuring out what is the use of AI in our lives, and more importantly, in our business lives. So today we're going to be jumping into a report that MIT just released, basically stating that 95% of businesses have actually no real use for AI, despite spending upwards of $40 billion on these personalized, customized AI projects. So jumping right into it. A report from MIT reveals that despite massive corporate spending on generative AI tools, only 5% of organizations have successfully put these tools into production at scale. The study, based on interviews with enterprise leaders and analysis of over 300 AI initiatives, found that most custom AI projects never make it past the demo phase. American companies have poured between $35 and $40 billion into generative AI products, but a shocking new study shows that almost all of this money has been wasted. So, according to MIT, 95% of businesses have seen absolutely no return on their AI investments. Only a tiny fraction, just 5%, have managed to get their custom AI tools working in real-world operations. The MIT research team interviewed 52 business leaders, analyzed over 300 public AI projects, and surveyed 153 business professionals to understand what's going wrong. They discovered something surprising. The problem isn't that companies lack the right infrastructure, talent, or training. Instead, the AI tools themselves have fundamental limitations. They can't remember information from previous interactions, they can't adapt to specific business needs, and they don't learn or improve over time. One frustrated CIO told researchers that out of dozens of AI demos that they'd seen, only one or two were actually useful. The rest were just fancy wrappers around existing AI technology or impractical science experiments. The study found that AI is only making a real difference in two industries: technology companies and media telecom businesses. In these sectors, AI is being used to reduce hiring needs, with over 80% of executives expecting to hire fewer people within the next 2 years. The jobs most affected are customer support, administrative work, and basic development tasks, roles that were already vulnerable because they're often being outsourced. For the other 7 major industries studied, including healthcare, retail, financial services, and manufacturing, AI has had almost no meaningful impact. A manufacturing executive summed it up perfectly. He said that despite all the LinkedIn hype about AI changing everything, their actual operations haven't fundamentally changed except for maybe processing some contracts a little bit faster. One of the most interesting findings is that generic tools like ChatGPT often work better than expensive custom enterprise solutions, even when both use the same underlying AI technology. The study includes an example of a law firm that spent $50,000 on a specialized contract analysis tool only to find that ChatGPT worked better. The lawyer explained that their expensive tool gave rigid, unchangeable summaries, while ChatGPT allowed her to guide the conversation and refine the output until she got exactly what she needed. Workers are more familiar with ChatGPT's interface and find it more flexible, which means they actually use it more than these specialized tools. The research suggests that companies are approaching AI procurement all wrong. Most businesses are spending about half of their AI budgets on marketing and sales applications, but the report argues that they should focus on areas that generate real business results. The few companies that have succeeded with AI treat it more like an outsourcing process for their business rather than buying a software. They demand deep customization, they get their frontline employees involved from the start, and they hold vendors accountable for actual business results. The successful companies understand that implementing AI requires a true partnership with vendors, not just writing a check and expecting magic to happen. For business owners, this means being skeptical of AI vendors promising revolutionary changes starting with simple tools that employees already know how to use and focusing on specific, measurable problems rather than trying to change everything at once. So, if you're a small business owner, I think that this research offers crucial insights for you as it regards to AI investments. So, while these large corporations are struggling with expensive custom AI solutions, this study found that simple, off-the-shelf tools like ChatGPT often perform better than these costly, specialized systems. So, small businesses can learn from these failures by starting small with proven tools rather than investing in expensive custom solutions. The key takeaway is that AI adoption requires practical implementation and employee buy-in, not just purchasing fancy technology. Small business owners should focus on specific problems that AI can solve today, like customer service or content creation, rather than just chasing the hype. So, as far as this MIT report is concerned, I think they hit the nail on the head. In my personal life, I get a ton of use out of AI, use it all the time. I don't think that that's going to come to an end anytime soon. But as a business owner and in my business, I haven't found any real use case for it in the business. That doesn't mean that I haven't used it on the business. So if I built a new website and I need new copy written, I can have that written in like 20 minutes or less. Or if I need to bounce new ideas off of AI, I can do that. So it's definitely helpful on the business. But as far as inside of my business, my operations, my workflows, there is no real use for me as a business owner. And so what we're seeing is a lot of new companies that are offering these new AI tools that can do all these things to help your business. But just like the reporting shows, a lot of these things are built on existing AI software like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. And so that means a couple things. Number one, if you really, really need something done, you could just put it in ChatGPT and get that thing done. Or if you're like me and you're a business owner and one who's just a little bit more savvy, you can build these things yourself over a short weekend. What you don't want to do is be like that law firm who spent $50,000 on an AI parsing tool when ChatGPT was very well capable of achieving that same task. And one other angle that I'll tackle before we wrap up is that my business is run entirely on automations. So an automation is a very sequenced step-by-step process that never changes, right? So a good example of that would be you have a customer who submits an order, they get a confirmation email. There are a series of automations happening in the background that enable that customer to get the email. And so I've spent the last year and a half, 2 years building automations for my company, but AI, I would never want to defer any of that to AI, right? If I leave that email being sent to the customer, for example, in the hands of AI, who knows what'll happen, right? And so I believe that most companies are and should be running automations, not using AI to replace their systems. Now, the one caveat that I'll add is that AI has definitely gotten better over the last year and a half, 2 years that I've been building automations such that I can incorporate them into my automations. So I'm not going to get too technical with it, but if I need to solve a really complex problem inside of one of my automations that requires some brain power, some thinking, and how can I extract this data that I need out of this automation, AI has definitely been coming to the rescue in that way. So it's making my automation building process 1,000 times easier. But again, I would never just put all of that into the hands of AI because the output or the outcome would be too unpredictable. So I don't think that this means that we're not going to get to that point where AI can do a lot more inside of businesses. But I think right now we're just in this huge hype cycle where it's exciting, it's new, people are throwing money at it left and right. And so I think it creates this sense of FOMO, if you will. But yeah, I think we'll get there. I think we'll get to a point where AI is useful in businesses. I think it's just going to take another 5 to 10 years before we get there. But if you are a business owner, I would absolutely love to hear how you've implemented AI into your business. Maybe I'll do an episode on that at some point where I talk about the ways that I'm using AI in my business. I unfortunately think that it's going to be very similar to how most people are using AI in their business. Again, not doing anything crazy, but just being helpful in certain areas of how the business is run. That's all I got for you in today's episode of Made. Thank you for tuning in. I will catch you in the next one.